Whether you're moving to the Oregon coast for employment or for work specifically, or you're just interested in what the economy and what the job market is like on the Oregon coast, in this video, we're going to talk about exactly that. So if you want to learn what the top jobs are, what the top industries are, and where you might fit in, either as a potential employer, employee, or just somebody who owns real estate in this area, stay tuned to learn more. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Paul Clem with the Home Team Brokers coming to you from the Oregon coast. And if you want to learn everything there is to know about what it's like to live, work, eat, sleep, play, and the pros and cons of living at the Oregon coast, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap that little bell to make sure that you are notified every time that we drop a new video. And we're getting people reaching out to us almost every day who are considering moving to the Oregon coast, and we love to hear from you. So if you're thinking about buying a second home or vacation home or relocating to the Oregon coast, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or even schedule a Zoom call in the description below. No matter how you decide to get a hold of us, we have your back when it comes to moving to the Oregon coast. Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about jobs and the local economy on the Oregon coast. And as you may know, the Oregon coast is over 360 miles of coastline. So we're talking about, different regions, different towns, different markets overall, but there are some similarities, up and down the coast, all the way from Astoria to the north, Brookings to the south, everywhere in between. And so whether you're moving to the Oregon coast for work specifically, or you're just interested in what the top employers and top industries are, that's exactly what we're going to cover in this video. And, having knowledge of this, regardless, is going to equip you and better prepare you for how that might protect or impact your investment in real estate in particular. Maybe you're raising a family there, maybe you have children that are growing up that are going to be entering into the job market soon. And, you're wondering what that might look like if they decided to take employment at the Oregon coast. So the biggest thing to talk about when it comes to the Oregon coast, at least right now, and probably for the foreseeable future, is tourism. The Oregon coast, up and down as a whole, makes up Oregon's largest tourist destination. So when you think about tourism, there's so much in terms of, an infrastructure to support tourism that comes into play. So first and foremost, when somebody is booking a vacation, they have to stay somewhere. So, we're talking about hotels, we're talking about vacation rentals and vacation homes. We're talking about cottages, Airbnbs, you name it. Even like yurts and cabins and things like that. There's a lot of different options, but either way, lodging and accommodations make up an enormous piece of that tourism segment of the Oregon coast economy, all the way down from, the actual owners of the properties, the vacation rental companies, property management companies that look after these portfolios of homes, to cleaning services, to maintenance, and all the things that go into sustaining lodging accommodations for tourism at the Oregon coast. And beyond that, beyond the actual lodging piece, of course, you have hospitality, food and beverage, entertainment, so we're talking, restaurants, we're talking live music, we're talking breweries, wine tasting rooms, And then beyond that, shops, boutiques, galleries, things that are drawing people to these areas and cater directly to tourists. So, if we look at tourism as, really the largest segment of the Oregon coast economy, you can see all the way down, all of the jobs that creates and all of the little things that contribute to the tourism specifically. Now, that hasn't always been the case. I mean, if you look at the Oregon coast 25, 30, 40, 50 plus years ago, you're looking at logging and timber as an enormous piece of that economy. But regulation over the years, environmental regulations, logging regulations, and rules and restrictions have really depleted, some more than others, but a lot of these local economies up and down the Oregon coast. So much so that, I mean, you've seen towns, maybe swing toward more of an economic recession or depression. And really in the last 20 to 25 years, maybe 1995, mid 90s, kind of leading up to present time, tourism has really done a lot to prop up these local economies and kind of help them build their economies back into working order. And so, that's not to say that timber and logging aren't, a big piece of the job market at the Oregon coast. Same goes for fishing. Fishing, commercial fishing, also fishing catered to tourism. So, fishing guides, things like that, do make up a big part of the economy as well. But in particular on the commercial fishing side, whereas that's still a big part of the local economies up and down the Oregon coast, regulation, rules, restrictions, things like that, have depleted some of that job market. So, if you look at the primary industries, tourism, logging, fishing, tourism is really, one that we're seeing on the rise. We're talking like double-digit growth year over year consistently, and there's really no end in sight. So a lot of room there. And, if you're somebody who is drawn to the Oregon coast, you're considering relocating there, maybe without, a job lined up or something in particular in mind, you can reliably count on something that caters to that tourism piece where you could potentially find some employment. And that, by and large, should be something that you could expect to, to have your hand in one way or another in whatever capacity that may be. Now, if you're more on the entrepreneurial side and you're thinking about, especially relocating full time to the Oregon coast, there's a ton of opportunity to build a business that caters to both the local economy and the local market for sure, but also people coming in and traveling into the area. Whether that be something in food and beverage, a coffee shop, a bar, a restaurant, to more of an attraction, like a shop or a boutique or an art gallery, or some, maybe some kind of tour company, tour guides, things like that, which are really common and prevalent and have a lot of success up and down the Oregon coast. So, if you are looking to start a business at the Oregon coast, tourism is probably a good segment, where you can reliably have some security or assurance that, that's something that could potentially perform well, given the tourism that the Oregon coast sees year over year. And year-round tourism as well, too, I should mention. Now, the Oregon coast, of course, has local economies in each town and region, and there's plenty of kind of the typical jobs that support that, from white-collar jobs to blue-collar jobs, sort of everything in between. So, there's financial services, real estate, of course, legal industry stuff, lawyers, policemen, firefighters, medical, doctors, nurses, all of those things down the line, there are opportunities there. But, unless you are moving to the coast to fill a position like that, you've probably predetermined that or already arranged that, and you're relocating for work. Otherwise, if you're moving to the area, without employment in particular in mind, again, you're probably going to be looking at something probably a little more catered to the tourism side of things, unless you just absolutely love the Oregon coast and, there's a field that you're in and, you're maybe looking at potentially finding employment once you relocate there. But either way, you're going to find these standard occupations that you would find, in any town, any region, any state around the country. One thing that may not be as known, and something that's worth mentioning is that the Oregon coast doesn't really have a ton of large employers. The top of mind for me would be like Tillamook Creamery, which has national distribution, and they have their huge factory in Tillamook. Rogue Brewing, which has natural distribution, that's in Newport, and a really large operation there at the coast. But kind of going beyond that, and there's probably some I'm missing. And if I'm missing anything, definitely comment below. We want to, be as informed as possible and make sure people know, what the top employers and top industries are at the Oregon coast. Again, you're probably going to see from town to town and region to region, jobs and a job market and a local economy that caters to itself, supporting the full-time residents and supporting the tourism that it brings in. So kind of going beyond that, if we're looking at specific types of jobs, there's definitely jobs in fields that are kind of, working toward and meant to preserve the beauty of the Oregon coast. And so that could be anything from, conservation, preservation, to things like, park rangers, fisheries and wildlife. A lot of these might be state or county, or kind of public jobs. But because there are dozens of state parks and state recreational areas, excuse me, and scenic viewpoints up and down the Oregon coast, there's certainly an infrastructure in place, and kind of, that human workforce in place to preserve these things, not only for the people locally, not only to kind of honor and cherish the history, in particular on the Native American side of things, on the Oregon coast, to keep it the place that people who travel there expect it to be. So if we look at some of the numbers and statistics, the largest contributor to income up and down the Oregon coast was retirement income. And then second to that was quote unquote undefined. So, when you look at that, you're seeing, probably the highest income earners or the majority of wealth on the Oregon coast are probably people who have relocated there either for retirement and they live there full time, or, part-time throughout the year. So, that's really kind of no surprise. And you can kind of see, this separation and this kind of hard line distinction between, the money that's pumped into the area, from, in particular, people who are buying real estate in the area, for vacation home, vacation rental type, purposes, to, more of these local economies. And, these towns are great. There's nothing, negative or positive being said about that in terms of that discrepancy. If you look at, kind of the average income, on an individual basis for Oregon, you're looking at the Oregon coast being $25,000 a year. You're looking at the state of Oregon being $30,000 a year, and the Portland metro area about $35,000 a year. So there is a significant drop off that you can see just by individual income earned up and down the Oregon coast. And, again, that's not necessarily something that has a negative or positive impact, but something as a potential home buyer at the Oregon coast, you can consider in terms of potential resale value, potential economic growth, and just kind of an overall temperature check on how things are doing at the Oregon coast. Because obviously buying a house anywhere is a big decision, and taking into account, some of these economic factors are certainly important to consider at the very least. And, we can look beyond, employment opportunities for, say, somebody who's moving to the Oregon coast, and really, maybe kind of shift to things that you could get involved in. And there's going to be a lot of opportunity for voluntary involvement that may not be compensation based necessarily, but things like local boards, historical societies, nonprofits, supporting kind of a vast array of causes, both locally and regionally, for the Oregon coast as a whole. There's a lot to get involved in. And, something you find up and down the Oregon coast is, these communities, and these towns are very tight knit, and people are very motivated to be involved and to, kind of band together and support each other and support causes that they are collectively fighting for. And so, if you're thinking about, okay, maybe you're not looking for an income per se or employment, but you want to fill your time, get involved in something, there are opportunities there up and down the Oregon coast. And, that could be anything from sitting on a local, school board to volunteering at a museum, which there are a number of, and a lot of other opportunities just to get involved and kind of fill your time with any number of these opportunities. Research and science is also big at the Oregon coast, in particular at the I think it's the Hatfield Marine Science Center. I think that's the name, in Newport. I think it's affiliated with Oregon State University. You have the Oregon Coast Aquarium. But the science community is a bit more insulated. The job opportunities there are a bit smaller. It's probably safe to assume that if that's a field that you're in, you probably already know of the opportunities that may or may not exist at the Oregon coast. But certainly something that is very prevalent at the Oregon coast. But in terms of job opportunities, probably few and far between overall when we talk about things at scale. Okay, and here's the other piece, to consider. The job market all around the country is changing. Working from home is more and more common. That doesn't look like something that's going to be going away. And people all around the country are looking for a place where they would prefer to spend their time. So that, that's a much different conversation, than historically, where you're looking for a job that fits your goals, your criteria, and you're willing to relocate or go to an area because of a job, and maybe sacrifice some of the, local amenities or what you're looking for overall in a particular town or community. That's being shifted a little bit. And the Oregon coast is, very peaceful, very quiet. It's not overly populated. That hustle and bustle just really does not exist there. And if you have the ability to work from anywhere in the country, it's safe to say that a lot of people have their eyes on the Oregon coast. It's a very tranquil, again, very peaceful place to live. There's a lot of variety and a lot of options, although again, there are a lot of similarities up and down the coast for sure. But from different population sizes to different climates, different weather patterns, just different amenities, offerings, activities overall, the Oregon coast is going to be a place that is going to see a little bit of, at least, that boom or increase of people who are relocating because they have more flexibility in terms of where they can work. So that's certainly something to keep an eye on. On the other side of that, the Oregon coast is not necessarily a place where people are relocating for work specifically. People moving to the Oregon coast, if they're not buying a vacation home or second home or retiring, it's probably going to be people who grew up there and they're going back to these communities, or they do have some of these job opportunities that kind of fall in line with fishing, timber, maybe science and research, things like that. But again, it's not a place where hundreds, thousands of people are relocating every month for work. There's not a tech sector, for example. When you kind of look at those conditions overall and consider how the market might be moving in terms of demand, I could see a larger and growing demand, in particular for full-time residents, as people can begin to work more and more from anywhere they'd like to. And we're seeing the largest population segment in terms of age, either getting into retirement right now or nearing retirement, or they've been in retirement for a few years. Either way, if we're looking at baby boomers, and they're looking for a place to relocate, and a place that does provide a lot of peace and quiet. The Oregon coast is probably the top destination in Oregon in terms of retirement overall. So these things kind of drive that, the housing market at the Oregon coast. And really just points to consider and information to have as you may be considering a purchase at the Oregon coast. And if you are thinking about buying a home here, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email. We're happy to answer your questions. We're happy to help, and we'd love to hear from you. So you can even schedule a Zoom call in the description below. We can connect, you can get in our calendar, and we can kind of get you off and running on that home search, or again, just answer questions that you may have about buying a home at the Oregon coast. So until next time, thank you for watching this video, and we'll talk to you later.